Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chairs Tonko and Rush, and Ranking Members McKinley and Upton for holding this hearing today, and thank you all for being here. I've found it very informative just to be here and listen to what y'all had to say. Mr. Pugliese, I know that you share my concern that Hoosiers and all Americans are struggling to keep pace with rising energy prices. That's really all I heard back last week when I was out in the district. It's the number one issue, the inflation, and particularly having spent an entire career in the petroleum distribution industry, they put their price right out there so everybody knows whether the price went up. And they're really getting out of control and affecting manufacturers, transportation industry. I agree with you that the Biden administration policies such as the halt on oil and gas leasing on federal lands, duplicative emission regulations, and the war on pipeline projects such as the Keystone XL have undermined our energy independence and contributed to a global energy crisis because crude oil is an international product movement. While I support an all-of-the-above approach, like my peers have all talked about today, this hearing has only further proved that oil and gas remain necessary to maintain energy independence, particularly when we don't have the storage technology at this time to really move it forward in an expeditious way. And I hope my colleagues are listening to what a number of the folks have testified about today. You know, here's where I'm going, sir. Innovation has been a hallmark of the petroleum industry ever since my family was involved in it. And should we just abandon support of the oil industry at this time when they have shown so much improvement in the environment, in cleanups and things like that?
So, you know, I think one way to look upon it is that these legacy fuels, particularly oil and gas, they are extremely valuable, and we know that because they generate large sums of revenue directly to the federal government. If you take our leasing system between 2005 and 2015, over $110 billion flowed directly to the federal treasury. A lot of it was distributed back to the states. In that same period, we probably spent over $50 billion for grants and production tax credits for wind and solar. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but I'm saying this gives us a signal in the marketplace, in the valuation of this commodity within our system. We have a lot of extra economic value, if you like. It's showing up. It's because consumers want it. It has the characteristics that they need. And that is not the case yet for wind and solar. It is competitive. I'm told it's competitive, but we'll know more when we see the industry, the wind and solar industry, say, okay, we don't need the tax credits anymore. We don't need the production credits anymore.
Sure.
We're ready to bid on land values on public lands, just like the oil and gas industry.
Well, and not only the lease revenues of 110 over a 5-year period, but also motor fuel taxes on a federal level are about $51 billion a year, and you could at least double that for the impact between motor fuel for state taxes and then sales tax, and that's a lot of income that would disappear out of the system. But back to why would we not continue to support or enable the industry to innovate and improve technologically like they have for so many years? Is that something we're not talking about now?
Apparently not. But the real question is the pace at which we transition to these fuels of the future. And the most troubling aspect of a lot of policy discussions and some policies is that we're abandoning these high-valued fuels before we really have cost-effective substitutes. And that is a prescription for a lot of problems.
Yes, sir, and thank you for that. You know, I'm really concerned about the average consumer in the Indiana district that I represent, of course, across the state of Indiana, and I appreciate that we do figure out to do an all of the above without hammering and doing it at the expense of of the constituents that I represent. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back.